everybody, it's Julie. Welcome back to Pages and Pens. Today I am here with my January wrap-up, and I'm actually filming a little bit early, so before the actual end of January. I have 2 books that I'm currently reading right now, but I'm not sure if I'm going to finish them this month or not, and I needed to film. So I'm just going to go ahead and film it, and if I finish those, I will leave a note down in the description box. But for right now, let's go over the 13 books I think I read this month, and I'll let you know what I rated them. Again, all my ratings are always on Goodreads. I don't know what this is. But all my ratings are always over on Goodreads, so you guys can check them out there as well. But let's go into the books that I read for the month of January in 2017, and I'll let you know my thoughts. So the first book that I finished up was actually one that I started before the new year, but I didn't finish it until after, and that is Salt to the Sea by Ebates, and I loved this book. I gave it a 5-star rating, and that's pretty surprising for me because historical fiction's not normally my genre, but I ended up really loving these characters. I loved the way the book was told. It was a book that I listened to in audio format, and the audiobook was phenomenal. I really ended up caring for the characters, especially Amelia. Her story was so gripping and so raw and so real, and it's a beautiful, beautiful book that's been getting a lot of buzz here on BookTube, and I think it's completely deserving. It's a very, very stunning book if you haven't read it yet and you're into historical fiction, or even if you're not, because I'm really not. I ended up loving it, so I would definitely go ahead and say read that or give it a listen. The audiobook was really good. The second book that I read this month, I do not have a copy of because, again, this was an audiobook, but I'll do my best, guys, to put the covers here. I say this all the time, but I really am going to try. And this was Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I actually have a full review for that book coming out this weekend because I see the merits to this book. I understand why people are liking it and praising it on BookTube. For me personally, it did not connect with me, so I gave it a 2-star rating, and I explained that a little bit more in the review, so you guys can tune in for that. I also put up a review at Goodreads, but I am really excited to be able to talk about it a little bit more because I understand why it would be great for some people. For me personally, it just didn't connect. The next book that I read was actually Assassin's Blade, which I have done a full talk through on this as well. It is non-spoilery, so you can check it out. I did deface this book, so I wrote in it, I did little quotes and stuff. Not all over, so it's hard to kind of find, but in that review I do show you some spots where I did deface this book. I ended up absolutely loving this set of novellas. This is a prequel set of novellas. I think it really helped me for Throne of Glass. This I gave, again, 5 stars. Loved this book. These novellas gave you such insight into Selena, into her world, into her life, and her past before Throne of Glass that I really, really appreciate it, and I think I needed. The pacing in this was phenomenal. Each one of these was super moving. I cried in this more than I've cried in the whole rest of the series, because I don't think I've cried in the rest of the series, but I cried in this, I think. And the only companion novel that I've read so far that I like, that I think is worth it. So then I read If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Rousseau, and I believe I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. I really did like that book. Let me tell you the premise. The premise of If I Was Your Girl is, first of all, there's a trans model on the cover who's gorgeous. It's also about a trans girl who goes to a new high school post-transition, so she's kind of starting over and trying not to tell anybody and just live her life as a girl because she's a girl. And the story is amazing. But even the author acknowledges at the end that this was a girl who had the funds, the money, an unrealistic timeline for transition, and everything was kind of smooth. She was able to transition and look very feminine. Nobody knew offhand that she used to be male. So the author does acknowledge that that's not the norm necessarily for transitions, and that things were made easier for this character to make it easier for cisgender people to kind of understand the book and her transition and what she was going through, and to avoid some of those other hurdles and really just focus on 1 or 2 things. So for me, that was slightly unrealistic, and as I was reading it until I got to the end and read the author's notes, I definitely took issue with that, just kind of having it wrapped up too neatly for this girl. That being said, it is a phenomenal book. I really, really did like it. The audio version was really good too. So I gave that a 4 out of 5 stars. Really glad to have read that one. Then I dove right into Throne of Glass. I read this for my Java and the Librarians book club, and we did do a live show on this. I will link the live show down below in case you want to go check out our live show discussion. We had an hour-long discussion about this book, the characters, characters, the plot, etc. I really liked this book. The pacing was so much slower than the novellas. The world building, some of the magic elements that kind of came into play, I just didn't think were handled super well, so I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. It fell flat after the novellas, honestly. So anyway, I liked it. Very, very happy to have started this series, but 3 out of 5 stars. And then I read a 5-star read that should not be surprising, and that is my Labyrinth. Jim Henson's Labyrinth, a novelization by A.C.H. Smith and illustrations by Brian Froud. Guys, I love this book. I've talked about this numerous times. It is phenomenal. It was a really cool look at the movie in novel form. There were a couple different changes in here. I appreciated the changes in here. There was definitely also parts of this that I didn't even have to read because I was reciting it out loud because I knew it so well from the movie. But in general, I really, really loved this. And I did especially like some of the drawings in the back, but especially the forward to Jim Henson's journal and then his journal entries, because it gave you a lot of insight about how the movie came to be. And I just love all things Labyrinth, obviously. Again, I will link my Labyrinth book tag. You guys should go check it out and join up. I think that any Henson or Labyrinth fan should definitely try to give this a go because it's just something that I'm really happy to have in my collection. Then I read Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng, and I'm pretty sure I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I think that this book suffered from some pacing issues. I think it was a lot longer than it needed to be. I listened to this in audio format and I heard a lot of repeating phrases and repeating themes that came up so often that it did start to get kind of annoying. So I took a star off for that. But otherwise, I thought it was a really good look at interracial relationships, interracial children, and how they adapted into the world. This was set, I think, in the early 70s. This family is like the only Asian family in this area, the only half Asian children in this area, how they adapt, parental expectations. It was a very gripping, really raw, real story that I actually really liked. Then I went into one that I loved, guys, and I gave 5 out of 5 stars, and that is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin O'Leary Sands. This book broke my heart. I cried. I loved it. It was at times a slow build. The pacing on this was a little bit weird. It's definitely not plot driven as much as it is character driven, but the characters in this are so phenomenal. Aristotle and Dante both of their sets of parents, the family dynamic in this is beautiful, the friendship dynamic in this is beautiful. I loved everything about it. And it's about kind of parents accepting their children and helping them become who they're meant to be and who they're comfortable being. And I don't know, it was really, really beautiful. Then I read a 4-star book, and my 4-star book was Current of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas, the second of the Third of Glass series, but the third book I read. Anyway, so the pacing picked up a little bit in this. The storyline, the character development started to go forward a little bit. There was some definite plot twists at the end of this that made me pick up Air of Fire right away. I did see the plot twist coming, but I did appreciate that there was more exploration into the magic system, more exploration into the individual characters, into the politics. And I just felt like this one worked a little bit better than Throne of Glass. It moved a little bit better for me. And it was still very much a transitional book for me, at least in my opinion. But I do think that you start to see each of these characters kind of come into their own a little bit more. There was a lot that happened in this book that, again, you just want to like hold Selena if she would let you, which I kind of feel like maybe she wouldn't, but you just want to hold her. But yeah, I love this, and I'm finding myself really, really enjoying this series. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. This was an Owl Crate exclusive cover, which I will link up above, and I didn't love this. I gave it 2 stars. Now, I should have probably known, because I'm not really a fan of the movies. Any adaptation of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland is not really my thing. The whimsy in this goes so far over the top into just nonsense that it's difficult for me to follow. There's no kind of thread to hold on to get you through to the end. And the only thing about this book that I loved were the last couple paragraphs where it kind of goes over the moral of the story and what the whole thing's really about. And those 2 paragraphs I think were better written than the entirety of the book. And I know that's probably really unpopular because this is a classic, but it's just not a classic for me. It was a little bit too over the top, and yeah, just not my cuppa. And then I listened to Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray on audiobook, and those audiobooks are done so beautifully, guys. If you've not read Lair of Dreams or The Diviners. They're very large books. I understand they're very intimidating. Give the audiobooks a try. The narrator's January something. She's phenomenal. The voices are so good. The cast of this book, Lair of Dreams, is so diverse. You have racial diversity, sexual diversity, you have disabilities being represented. It's just such a glorious cast of characters, and I liked that they started to come together a little bit more in this one than in The Diviners, where they're all kind of scattered and they have separate storylines. They start to come together a little bit more in this one. So I'm really excited for the third book, but this was just a beautiful, beautiful second book. Does not suffer from second book syndrome. I really loved it, and I'm not surprised I did because I really liked The Diviners, but this book was phenomenal, and I will definitely be listening to the third book when it comes out in audio format because I just love this narrator. I love the audio format of this book. So I gave Lair of Dreams 4 stars. And then I read a 2-star book, which was Dare Me by Megan Abbott, which was just so not for me. This is a murder mystery cheerleader book where all the cheerleaders just kind of like drink and do drugs and have sex and be crazy and backstab and fat shame and glorify eating disorders, and it's awful. It's awful. I hate it. I hate everything about it. So not for me. I listened to this in audio format even though I have the book because it came available. I must have requested it at some point and forgotten about it, but it became available. So I did put this on my February TBR, but then the audiobook became available and I figured I'll just listen to it now that I have it. Not a fan. So I will be unhauling this at some point. I never even cracked this book, but I don't want it in my life. Then the last book that I finished is Air of Fire by Sarah J Maas, which I gave 4 stars. None of these have like blown me away to a 5-star rating, but this one got stinking close. I understand now though why people say that the characters at the beginning of the series are almost unidentifiable as the characters at the end of the series, because you start to see characters changing a lot in this book. If you've read this series, you know what I'm talking about. But I do like that throughout all of the books there is this fae element. So magic has been banned from this land. The king has banished magic from the land. We know that in book 1. We start to see a little bit more of the magic in this one, and Selena really kind of comes into her own in a whole new way. There's a new cast of characters that are introduced that I really, really ended up loving. I think I love this series, but this book in particular was so good. So that's all I've actually physically finished for the month of January. However, I have 2 books that I'm reading right now. One is Queen of Shadows by Sarah J Maas, obviously the next book in the Throne of Glass series, but I'm only like 90 pages into that. So I'm gonna see what I can get done before the end of the month and we'll see if I can finish it. I'm also listening to Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, which is the first of the Dark Artifices series of hers, which is another Shadowhunter World book, but it's long. And I'm listening to the audiobook and I've been listening for hours and I think I'm 10% into it. So it's going to be a long one and I'm not sure if I'm going to get that done before the end of the month. So those are the 2 books that I'm currently reading, and then we'll see if I get them done before the end of the month. If I do, I'll say so down below and then link you to my Goodreads. But right now, I'm going to go ahead and say that that's the 13 books for January that I read, and I'm hoping to make February a really good month. That's been my January month of reading. Let me know which one of these books you guys were most excited for. Have you read any of these? What were your thoughts on them? Let me know. And if you liked this video, and I hope you did, be sure to give me a big thumbs up, click subscribe, and then click that little bell next to the subscribe so you get notified when my new videos go live. I will see all of you in my next video. Bye guys.